Hello and welcome to the channel. Today is just going to be a standalone short story on its own. I purchased a new microphone, editing software, and sound effects as well to test out on this video. So please let me know if you want more sound effects, less, what you think of the mic, any recommendations, any story ideas you'd like to see. Let me know in the comments and please enjoy. James was driving home down Interstate 79 in his crappy little 1986 Oldsmobile. Tired from commuting across the state and back every day for work, he was holding onto the cracked plastic steering wheel with one finger. Passing a gas station, he had to adjust his eyes from the dark road to see the price of gas on the sign. $4.21. It may be a crappy little car, but the heater works and gets great gas mileage, he tells himself so he doesn't get an idea in his mind about buying a new car. He knows better than to get himself into debt. Him and his wife only have $7,000 left on their student loans, being frugal as can be just to get as much as they have paid off within 3 years. James had always taken care of his credit score, even during financial hardships. He was only 27 and had an 840 credit score. As he's looking at the price of gas, a car comes up behind him with blinding LED halo lights, then gets in the left lane and starts to pass him. James, previously being a mechanic, instantly knew it was a 2015-ish BMW. The factory headlights work better than your $50 Amazon replacements, bud. With Daddy's credit card, you could have gotten at least $80 ones, he said out loud, laughing to himself, feeling superior. Nah, I shouldn't say that. You never know somebody's walk of life. Could be somebody who earned it. It's their car. What does it matter what I think of their headlights? He thought to himself, trying to remember he's in no place to talk in his crappy Oldsmobile he got for $800. As the BMW is passing him, the sunroof opens and he sees a massive vape cloud come billowing out. Nope, to hell with him, I was right. He laughed again. It was enough amusement to get him the rest of the drive home, imagining what the guy driving the BMW is like. He pulled into his driveway, getting out of the car, grabbing all of his belongings. He was about to shut the door and stopped the force halfway. Man, I always forget my Beretta, he thought to himself, pulling a 9mm pistol from under the seat and tucking it underneath his arm. Having a free hand still, he walked to the end of the short gravel driveway to get his mail. The previous renter subscribed to every letter, free magazine, and mail scam you could think of. If he didn't grab the mail daily, the post office would take it, all for being overfull, and he'd have to go and get it in person. Sifting through the stack of useless mail as he was walking to the door, he noticed a new envelope he hasn't seen before. It was heavy and shiny black. He put the letter on top of the stack and quietly walked into the house, knowing his wife was asleep by now. He walked to the kitchen to open the curious letter and set down his pistol and lunchbox. James flipped to the front of the black envelope, curious what company sent it. In stamped lettered font it read, "To hell with you too." James smiled with excitement, thinking, finally, a company knows how to stand out when sending letters. The letter inside read, "I know what you said to yourself about me. I heard every word. You wouldn't survive a week in my shoes. Included in the envelope is my credit card. A couple things to know. There's no limit. It's as good as cash, but you can't use it to withdraw at an ATM. And don't worry about paying the debt. Like I said, it's my card. Good luck." Dumping the envelope upside down, the card slipped out. As he picked it up, he felt the glossy white card as he could see his reflection in it. As he was holding the card, it turned to a bright green and revealed in silver letters, James E. Bardolph. What in the fresh new hell late night and chill beats to relax and study to is this? James stuttered. Well, Mama didn't raise no quitter, he shrugged. James pulled out his phone and used private browsing to create a fake Amazon account to test the card on. What to test it on? It's gotta be small, cheap, dumb, so no one would question the purchase. But I also don't want to buy it just for the sake of buying. What's something I can justify? I know! I'll get a timer to mount in the shower. It's only $7. My wife is always complaining I take too long in showers. After James entered the card information and clicked process checkout, the card in his left hand turned back to white. That's neat, James said. Well, I better get to bed to get this weird dream to stop, I guess. As he turned to leave the kitchen, there was a faint knock at the door. Peeking out the front window, he looked around with his pistol in hand. After not seeing anything, Nah, I must have imagined it. It's been a long couple days, he said. As he was turning away from the window, he noticed an Amazon package resting at the front door. Rushing to open it, he swung open the front door, and on top of the package was another black envelope. Inside the envelope was another letter reading, I don't know what I was expecting as a first purchase, but this certainly wasn't it. You could have at least gotten the $14 one, but oh well. Just be careful with the next one. Enjoy. James opened the Amazon package, and it was the sand timer he just ordered. James darted his head, looking at the timer and the letter in his hand back and forth about 5 times. Yeah, time for bed, James said. Thinking he was already asleep and having a weird dream, he got into bed and went to sleep, hoping that would wake him up from this bizarre situation. After laying in bed for a bit, James heard a click. He recognized the sound but didn't know what it was. Sounding as though it was in his head and not anywhere around him, he quickly forgot about it and fell asleep. James woke up the next morning to see the credit card was still on the kitchen table and the color was green again, and next to it was the timer. Looking at his watch, he was already running late. I guess I ought to try out that timer later. Jumping into his car, making sure to grab his gun before he got in, and sat underneath the seat. As he drove off, the gas needle was below quarter tank. Shoot, I'm not going to make it to work. I have to get gas. As James pulled into the gas station, he was debating whether or not to use the mysterious credit card. What the hell. If it worked last night, it'll work now too. James inserted the card and followed instructions on the screen. After filling the tank and putting the nozzle back, the card turned white again. Is there a timer on the card or something? He thought to himself. As James pulled onto Interstate 79, driving as fast as he could in his crappy little car, he heard a massive bang right next to his head. Looking around for what just happened, he sees a semi behind him pulling off to the road. Must have blown a tire. Those truckers retread those trailer tires more times than they should, James said. He glanced at the credit card in the passenger seat. It was back to green, but had a little red number 1 at the top corner of the card. I must be using up all the uses. Or maybe I only have it for 1 week and it's technically the second day. Who knows. Doesn't seem like an issue right now, though. As James sat down at his temporary desk at his company's new office that was being set up, the big shot baby boomer boss, who James hasn't even met yet, came to him. Hey, you know technology, right? None whatsoever. I'm actually Amish, James jokingly said, holding his cell phone in his hand. Look, it's my nephew's birthday. Can you go buy whatever the big game tech toy is out right now for me to give to him as a gift? With setting up this new building, I've kept putting it off. I'll pay you back on your next paycheck. Just give the receipt to HR, and I told them what I was doing. Wanting to get on the boss's good graces, James accepted with no hesitation. As James got into his car to go to the closest store, he stopped. Wait. If I use this new card, I can profit the change. Oh man, this is too easy. Walking into the store, going down the gaming aisle, James remembering the boss's words. Whatever big game tech toy, huh? He probably meant the new game console. Plus, that would give me a solid profit, too. James grabbing the game console and walking to the cashier, he pulled out the new credit card. Let's see if round 3 works. The card swiped and turned white again. The receipt printed and walked out the door. I guess it turns white when it works, James said. As he pulled into the office parking lot, he heard that familiar click again. He looked at the card, was back to green, with the number 1 still in the corner. Okay, it's got to do something with the card, but if that's the worst of it, I could care less, he said, trying to calm himself down. I just wish I could recognize what that sound was. Walking into work, he gave the receipt to HR and dropped off the game console with them. Scared and confused, he told HR he was going to take an extended lunch to take care of an appointment. Going to his car to take a nap, hoping to clear his head and figure out what the card meant with the clicks and the numbers, he couldn't figure it out. James turned the ignition to hear the radio for background noise, but nothing happened. James tried starting the car and no response. Well, if I'm going to find out about the limit on this card, I better find out. James pulled out his phone and searched for car dealerships. There's a BMW dealership 4 blocks down. To hell with this Oldsmobile. I can't afford a car payment, but with this credit card I can pay it outright and I can afford the insurance for sure. He turned the corner, walked to the BMW parking lot. James having to dress in business attire for work, his salesman approached him quickly. What can I do for you, sir? Anything I can help you with? James, always going to car dealerships to look at them but never actually buying, he was ecstatic to say, "Yes, my old car broke down and I want to upgrade." "What's your monthly budget?" asked the sales agent. "Pay it off today, no limit on price." "Well, right this way to the showroom." James quickly had his sights on the 740i xDrive BMW. "This one," James said with excitement. He handed the credit card to the salesman. "Of course, I'll be right back with the title and receipt." As the sales agent walked away, James could hear him say underneath his breath, "This guy, this is the third snooty rich kid in here today. They don't care about the car, they just want to spend daddy's money." James snapped. "What did you say?" "Nothing, sir. All I said was that I would bring you the receipt and the title," said the sales agent. "I didn't hear anything," another customer nearby said. My bad, bro," said James. "It's been a rough few days and I must be losing it a little. I'm sorry, you're doing a great job." The sales agent left without saying another word to get the title. "The TV is on in the lobby. Maybe you heard it from there," said the other customer. "You're probably right." The other customer came over to James. "My name is Daniel." James shook Daniel's hand, and for the first time he got a good look at him. Daniel was an average height man in his mid-30s, wearing a black suit. "So you just bought a car?" asked Daniel. "Yeah, this one right here," James said. "Very nice. I have the same model, but a few years old now, but still a great car." They continued to make small talk for a few minutes, and the sales agent returned. "Mr. James, here's your card back with the receipt and title for the car, all in this envelope." "Thank you," said James. "And of course, here's the keys," added the agent. As the keys dropped into James's hands, he heard a gunshot and dropped to the ground. Reaching for his gun, but remembering he left it in the Oldsmobile, he looked around to see if he could see his shooter. But no one else had reacted to the gunshot. "Are you okay?" asked the sales agent. "Yeah, I'm fine," James said, getting himself up off his knees. "The excitement made me feel a little lightheaded. I've never made this big of a purchase before." "Oh, I understand," said the sales agent. "Here, before you leave, let's take a lap around the lot," said Daniel. "Get some oxygen back in your brain." "Yeah, I'd appreciate it," said James. As they left the building, Daniel said, "The gunshot you heard was real." "You heard it too?" said James. "Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard it too many times." Daniel unlocked the car next to him, sat down. "What the hell are you talking about?" James asked. The car door shut, and Daniel drove off. As he left, James recognized the car as the one from last night. "He has to be the one who gave me this card. What the hell does he know that I don't?" James got in his new car and went back to the office. As he parked, he made sure to grab his pistol out of the Oldsmobile and put it in his new BMW. As he sat back down in his BMW and pulled out his gun, cocking it, putting a bullet in the chamber. "Just in case," James thought to himself. But let's not be stupid," he added, pushing the decocker button on the gun and putting it on safety. That's it! A gun decocking and being put on safety. Daniel pulled around the corner in his BMW and got into the spot next to James. "I can take that card back now if you want." "Explain what the hell is going on first and who you are, then I'll give it back." "My name's Daniel, but I already told you that, and that card belongs to me." "You have the number 2 in red on that card now, yeah?" James pulled the card from the envelope. "Yeah, it's green again with the number 2 now. I acquired that card in, well, let's just say a deal of sorts. The card reached about 15 before I figured it out. You see, every time that card is used, you'll hear one of two noises. A gun being put on safety, or a gunshot. Whenever you purchase an item, a worker where the item is made, a gun is placed at their head. If they cannot assemble the item within 10 minutes, they will be killed. If they live, the card goes back to green. If they die, it goes back to green, but the number increases. The second benefit of the card is you can hear other people's thoughts and what they think of you. It takes a long time to make gasoline and a BMW, but it only takes a couple minutes to make a timer and a game console. It must be nice having Daddy's credit card, isn't it? I will say, though, you were right. They are cheap aftermarket headlights. I couldn't afford the factory ones after they broke, and if I buy something, I make sure I buy the cheap ones that are quick to assemble. Daniel hears a click. What else did you buy on the way over here? I didn't notice you buy anything. Don't worry about it, said James. James fired his pistol while still sitting in their respective cars. Daniel's torso landed on the steering wheel, holding down the horn. James pulled out the cigarette lighter and burned a hole in the card, first in the chip reader, then on the magnetic strip. The card burst into flames in his hands and disappeared. Shifting his head up and looking out the windshield, he could see 2 factory workers. The first one was clearly Asian, with Asian writing on his shirt. The second was a German-looking man with a BMW logo on his shirt. Bullet holes in both their heads staring at James. "I'm sorry," he added. He put the gun under his chin and pulled the trigger, hearing the price of his purchases. And that is it for this one. Thank you for listening. Please consider liking and subscribing, and I will be here for the next one.